Hello.
Hey man, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to chat today.
Yeah, no problem. It's my
I
pleasure.
yeah, I just got off of I did a crazy stunt with our local radio station this morning. We actually pranked Donald Trump. We got him on the
Oh,
phone for
wow.
11 minutes. So
Oh,
my
no kidding. Well,
yeah.
I guess we'll be hearing about that soon then.
Oh yeah. And my phone has been just going through the roof and I definitely did not want to cancel this because I told Sarah I was really looking forward to chatting with you. So
Oh,
so so
thank
I'm
you.
I'm, I'm buzzing at another frequency today.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Your dreams have now been fulfilled. Pull up a seat and let's get ill. That's right, y'all. We have it all. We talk about all the
Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture. And I just want to remind you right off the bat, please, if you are not subscribed to us, please hit that subscription button, hit that alert button, and you will not miss anything that goes on our pages. If you are following us on YouTube, please do that. And if you are listening to us, thank you for listening, and please spread the word. Without you, there is no us. And speaking of us, let me bring in my co-host and technical producer and all other great things. Ryan Stick is joining me today from the Côte St. Luc home studio.
Now that we've revealed where my secret base is, okay.
Just know that if you go there on Friday nights, it's quite quiet.
Oh, it is so quiet. Subway closes at 7 o'clock, and I don't know how to cook. So Mel went out of town once, and I was screwed.
Ryan, we're getting closer and closer to that magical period known as fall. I think when we're recording this, actually, this is the last day of summer. Um, so
Really, is this technically the last day of summer?
Yeah, I think September 21st is the last day of summer or the first day of
Uh,
fall. One of the two. Correct us in the comments if you're listening or if you're following us or watching us. Please
if
let
you're
us know.
following us,
If you're
I love the unintentional pun there, buddy.
I like that. So the
Yeah.
reason why I'm bringing that up is I know that at your house, everything is very much Halloween themed at certain times of the year, and fall themed, and all those pumpkins and horror movies and all that fun stuff that we share passions for. Julia and I, who's also our producer of the show, um, we do a rotation of coffee mugs
Okay.
in our place, which I'm sure you guys do too, right?
Yeah, well, we have Halloween mugs spilling out of the closet in a comedic fashion, like a cartoon.
Yeah,
So we kind of just own it all year because it's
right.
a little easier. And when it's Christmas time,
That's
just put
when
a
you
little bow on it or a Santa hat and just, live in that. But yeah, no, Christmas, I guess, is the other side of the coin in this house. But usually it's pretty much 24/7 Halloween.
so we did a rotation of the mugs, and we brought all the Christmas mugs, the Halloween mugs down, and the fall themed mugs. So I'm really happy that I'm rocking this because I missed that. I went and brought it, I brought it down from the highest shelf that we have in our cupboard, and I was like, oh man, I miss my shining mug. And I
Nice.
think I might have been with you when I bought this.
Probably. We've given each other a few mugs. We gifted each
Mm-hmm.
other a few mugs over the years because it's kind of the go-to gift when you really need to get somebody something. I'm like, I know something about you enough to buy you a mug based on it. You like Elf? Here you go.
Yeah, well, there, I think I have the Elf set of mugs that make,
Yeah, and you gave me a Clark Griswold
right.
one.
Yeah, the ones that
Yeah.
stack up. So yeah, mugs are great. So yeah, being closer to fall and being closer to Halloween, it's always fun when this time of year comes. And we were walking last night. You hear the crunching of the leaves and all that fun stuff. So yeah, nice time of year.
Well, this time of year is the time of year that the squirrels try to nest in my car. So so each and every night we've been moving the car, and you can't park overnight in Côte St. Luc. So we've been moving the car back after all the squirrels have gone to bed and then moving the car away from our driveway during the day. Just because, we're not going to do anything to hurt the squirrels or whatever. But I'm like, okay, guys, stop being like, as soon as you're done being horny, we're going to go back to normal. But
Yeah, they're trying to get everything going before they have to. Excuse me.
yeah,
They're
please
gonna
don't settle here.
Yeah, they're gonna settle in your carburetor. I don't know if that's big enough.
I think I should just hang it in my car more often because they're not going to want to move in. If they're like, oh my god, this guy never shuts up. Hey squirrels, what's going on? Are you making a nest? Wow. You're going to have sex later? That's pretty cool.
Speaking of having sex later, what a great segue to our sponsor, Heartbeat Hot Sauce,
The sexiest hot sauce in town.
the lubricant to all your dreams. No,
Oh my
no.
God, that would be painful. Jesus Christ.
God, let's not say that. But what it is
Yeah.
really good on is eggs. And as you know,
Speaking of mating, eggs.
Speaking of mating and squirrels in your car, eggs.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. You do not have any Heartbeat Hot Sauce with you because you don't have any left.
No, we went on a blitz. Things got a little dark for a while, but they were very tasty.
Okay.
And I love Heartbeat. What can I say? And I got to say, everybody, the dill pickle sauce is my favorite. It's Melissa's favorite. It's like this sauce that kind of terraforms whatever you're eating into greatness. Like, if anything sucks, let me tell you, Heartbeat can get you out of a pinch.
Yeah.
And I cannot endorse Heartbeat hot sauce enough. This is not because they're sponsors. It's because it's damn good. And
It is damn good.
And if you use our promo code
Rockman20 right below there,
yeah,
boom, you'll get 20% off your entire order. And you know what's great, Ryan, is that I like you, and I will not just take.
I'm
the
glad.
Money. No, I like you. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I like you. Will not just take the money. I can't get behind something. I can't stamp my name on something that I don't believe in. I
can't say a movie's good when it's not.
Yeah, I just won't talk
say
about
anything at all. Yeah.
Exactly. We both share that common.
So
trait.
we would never talk about Heartbeat if we thought it sucked.
No, and I was a fan of Heartbeat before they came on board with the podcast. I was a client. My friend Pepe and I used to order together to save on shipping. And he'd be like, "I'm doing a Heartbeat order. Are you in?" I'm like, "Yes, 10 bottles." So I love
Nice.
Heartbeat hot sauce, and I'm so glad that they've been on this journey with us, and we really, really appreciate them. So try them out if you have not yet. HeartbeatHotSauce.com. Small batch fermenters out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I'm looking at this Caribbean style mango habanero, dude.
Ooh,
Fun. And on the hot meter, it's right between medium and hot because they do have a hot meter on the back of their bottle. So check out Heartbeat Hot Sauce. Also, big shout out to our friends at Studio House Designs. That is great. So I wore that shirt at Ottawa Comic-Con, I believe, during a panel or somewhere in one of our Comic-Cons, and I got so much. Now you've got the tie-dye version of that.
I like the tie-dye versions because it's a little bit better at keeping whatever is growing inside me right now in order.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, no, kind of like a shrink wrap thing.
It's more like if you drop something on it, like mustard, like if you drop mustard on that.
Which I continuously do. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of, foreshadowing what my day is going to be like.
And I wanted to show the new Exorcist movie's coming out in a couple of weeks. I really want to go see that. We have to see that. But they did a great Exorcist drop. So this is cool. Check this out. This is like the advert that they did for the 70 millimeter.
I love it.
Yeah. So love this. So shout out to Studio House Designs. I actually got my first Studio House Designs hat the other day.
Really?
They did an Exorcist hat with this drop. So go check them out if you have not yet. And they're great out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Our friends Cody and Aaron at Studio House. So shout out to them.
I recently, because I screwed up, and even though like we're in talks with them and links with them and everything, I missed their Nightmare on Elm Street run with that Welcome to Primetime, which is all over our socials for Quebec Comic Con.
Yeah.
Like you're rocking that shirt. So I got that one and I got the VHS one. And there has been a small sad part of my soul that realized I'd never get that shirt up until recently. So it's ordered. And I'm happy.
Well, they have leftover sales, right? So if you miss a drop, which they do usually a couple times a month, they once in a while will do a leftover sale when they have leftover stock. So yeah, go check out Studio House Designs. A lot of our friends in the US have been onto them for years, and a lot of our friends in Canada are just discovering them. So go check them out. Great people. And they always make us look fresh. So yeah. Ryan, are you a fan of death metal?
No.
That's okay. No.
Hey, funny thing about Cannibal Corpse though, and you address this in the interview where you pretty much tell them, you're like, listen, people are like, it's not an easy listen, but when people like really go for it, they go for it. And I'm like, Cannibal Corpse to me, I grew up like loving Green Day and a bunch of other very, very digestible things. And, the hardest bands I was listening to were more punk bands and still. So when I heard Cannibal Corpse, it was an assault of the senses where my brain couldn't handle musically nor vocally what the fuck just happened to me. But now that I'm old and now that I've seen it all, heard it all and whatever, I really fucking appreciate the level of of musicianship they brought and the balls they had to fundamentally be themselves through this entire run of their career
Yeah.
from beginning till current present. And I can fucking really appreciate Cannibal Corpse now. So when you say, do you like death metal? I'm like, will I get up in the morning and say to myself, Jesus Christ, do I gotta listen to some fucking death metal right now when I cook my breakfast, or have my breakfast cooked for me because I'm a fucking man child? I don't put on that Cannibal Corpse music. It's not the soundtrack of my life. But when someone's rocking it, I'm like, damn,
This is good.
that is some face melting music.
Well, I all that what you said, yes, very much true. And some of the nicest people I've met are in death metal bands.
I know,
Case
right?
in point, Matt McGachy, singer of Cryptopsy. What a sweetheart of a guy. If you
Sweetest.
nicest guy in the world, and then you go see him play, and you're like, "Holy shit, that's Matt! That's like Matt, the guy who works with kids, like in childhood education, Matt." So, yeah, I've known that death metal guys are usually pretty chill guys, but man, Alex Webster, founding member of Cannibal Corpse and bass player who we have on the show, he's another level of nice. One of the calmest guys and one of the coolest guys we've had on the podcast. And the conversation that we had went everywhere, man. Went from like running to like, being a good person to music to it was everywhere. And I loved this chat. I really, really did, because I find that he is very, very, very he's beloved in the industry. I mean, everybody you talk to goes, "Oh, Alex Webster, what a great dude. What a great dude." And he really, really is. But what I was really happy about, and I thought of you when I was doing this, is that he was able to talk to the whole Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura thing, which has been talked about to death. And I didn't want to bring it up. I didn't want to bring up, oh yeah, okay, let's talk about how Cannibal Corpse got to another level after they were in Ace Ventura. But we talked a lot about it, and it was really, really cool. So I don't want to keep anyone too much longer, because we want to jump into this. This is a great conversation. We have got Alex Webster of Cannibal Corpse with us right now on the Rockman Power Hour.
Hello.
Hey man, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to chat today.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure.
I just got off of I did a crazy stunt with our local radio station this morning. We actually pranked Donald Trump. We got him on the phone.
Oh wow.
Got him on the phone for 11 minutes. So
no kidding. Well, I guess we'll be hearing about that soon then.
Oh yeah. And my phone has been just going through the roof, and I definitely did not want to cancel this, because I told Sarah I was really, really looking forward to chatting with you. So
thank you.
I'm buzzing at another frequency today.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Just the fact that it took us 3 phone numbers to get through to him.
Wow.
3 calls we got through to. He called us this morning at 8 a.m. and I was pretending to be Clint Eastwood. Mr. Eastwood wants to speak to him, and it worked.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very
well. I look forward to hearing about this, and I'm sure word will get around.
And it was a respectful call. It wasn't like we weren't trashing.
Sure.
We pranked him, and he was a good sport about it at the end. We actually had George St. Pierre come in at the end, a guy.
Oh, cool.
Not the real George St. Pierre.
Okay.
My French counterpart came in and pretended he was George St. Pierre, and then we told him it was a prank. So, but anyways, We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about your new record, and we're here to talk about Cannibal Corpse. Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. Chaos Horrific coming out on the 22nd. This is 15, album 15, I think.
16, I believe. Yeah, I start to lose track myself. It's a lot.
It's really crazy, because I've never gotten to speak to you personally, but everyone I know that has chatted with you over the years has said, you're going to get on the phone with Alex and you're going to be surprised, because the music and the guy don't match at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've gotten that before. I speak to so many people in the metal world where their personalities don't necessarily match the music, so much so that it becomes a trait in a metal musician. You talk to you talk to Michel from Voivod, or any of the Voivod guys, the calmest guys. You talk to Tom from Slayer, calm guy. Like it's never, it's always a funny thing where you think you're going to get these guys that are just like all the time on fire.
Yeah.
And it's actually not that at all. It's more like you're talking to them after a really good workout and they're calm.
Yeah. I think, it's like anything else. I mean, there's a full range of personalities in this kind of music. And, I've met some really rowdy guys, and then some of the quietest guys I know are metal musicians or fans. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where people, especially people outside of the scene that don't know that much about it, they kind of have an expectation that it's only going to be really rowdy, crazy guys. And that's, like I said, there's a full spectrum of personalities, just like any other kind of music. I'm sure you get that in any genre, but yeah, metal, just based on how aggressive it is, you'd think that the personality would always be that all the time, and that's not the case. If anything, like you mentioned, like it's someone like after they've worked out, and the music can kind of be that way. Like,
sure, definitely.
you can if you do have some anger inside, metal is a great way to get it out. And then it's, you listen to your music or play it or whatever, go to a show, and then the rest of your day can be calmer.
Yeah.
Because of that,
What's great about this band is that you guys have always been able to kind of do it on your own terms. Never had to rely on radio support, never had to rely on the machine, if you will. I mean, obviously certain aspects of the machine, of course, with booking agents and all that other stuff, but you were really able to make a mark on solely, fan base, on building a fan base the old fashioned way, playing, getting people interested. I think obviously it's weird to say this when you're talking about Cannibal Corpse, but there's a certain amount of branding that went along with this band that really, really worked and transcends. And it almost became, having a Cannibal Corpse patch on your battle vest was like having a Sabbath patch. Like it was like having a Maiden patch. Like it gave somebody a bit of credibility. Is it weird to think that just from a branding point of view, this band became one of these brands that someone would want to be associated with to show that they're cool? And I'm not talking just metal fans, but outside, like, you'll get a Kardashian that might be wearing a Cannibal Corpse shirt or one of those, society people where they're just, they see it somewhere and they're like, oh, that's vintage. I want to wear it. It's metal. It's cool. And it's got to be a strange thing to see happen when you've been doing it for as long as you've been doing it.
Yeah. It's what you talked about. Like, I totally agree. And we're lucky to be in that position. Like, I remember I'd see, these classic shirts, like you'll see a Motorhead shirt or a Ramones shirt, you know what I mean? Or the Slayer logo shirt, Iron Maiden shirt, AC/DC shirts, those kind of things you'll see in pop culture, not just in the music scene,
of course.
Really.
Yeah.
And for us to start dipping into that a little bit, like that was something I always kind of hoped would happen. I think anyone in a band hopes that you would make that kind of, have that kind of growth in your career, like to be able to really just be known kind of universally in a way. It's something you can kind of hope for, but you can't really plan on it happening. So I think just by us having been around for a long time, it's sort of gotten there over the years to where every now and then there'll be this weird pop culture kind of reference to us that just doesn't, you wouldn't expect it. And it can be with merch or something like that. And to be fair too, we've just been lucky in that way pretty far back now that I think about this question. Like with Ace Ventura we filmed that in 1993 and then it was released in 94. So that was way back in our career. And that's obviously something really odd, like that's a very unusual thing for us to be in a, this really wacky comedy movie.
Yeah. So
that kind of exposure is, it's always cool, but you can't plan on it. It just sort of happens.
It happens. And I guess it's a result of having someone, maybe a relationship with someone in the crew, so, the actor liking the band, or, whoever's working your publishing is doing a good job placing, whatever it is. And it's funny because I wanted to bring it up, and I'm glad you brought it up because I know it's something that gets brought up a lot. It's got to be crazy when you see, when you look back and you think of that. So much time. It's been 30 years, since that happened. But it was still such a significant moment in pop culture that people remember it and people, bring it up. And it seems like every new generation that discovers the movie, then discovers the band, and then is surprised that, that he actually is a big metal fan. Jim Carrey, it's just the whole thing just always keeps, I don't want to say rearing its ugly head because it's not an ugly thing, but it just keeps coming back no matter what.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that in particular, that's obviously a bit beyond, seeing a sticker on a window in a movie or
a
someone wearing a shirt or something like that. That was just us actually in the movie and early in our career, and a movie where you would not expect it.
Yeah,
It's not a
definitely.
horror movie. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
quite different. So that's why people still talk about it, because it's still crazy that it happened. You know, I think about it, I'm like, wow, yeah, that really happened. It's pretty crazy. And I still meet people that it's their first exposure to death metal was seeing
Right.
us in that movie.
Of course.
You know, like every tour we do, pretty much, I'd say just about every tour, I'll meet a fan after a show who will mention that that was how they learned about us or death metal, period.
Right.
Was just seeing it there. And it just kind of shows you, well, first of all, death metal was this really underground form of music, and it's still relatively underground, even for having been around for several decades now. It's still, broadly speaking, like it's underground. We still don't get radio play. You're not going to turn on a album-oriented rock station and hear Cannibal Corpse or Morbid Angel or something. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So for us to be in a movie like that, yeah, it's really crazy. That's why people remember it. And just also Jim Carrey became a really big star after that. So, yeah, but it shows though, like just how many people I've met that learned about us for the first time from that. Movies are bigger than music in a way, in terms of recognition, because it's just on TV all the time. You know, a famous movie star is much more recognizable than even some of the most famous musicians. Yeah, I would say, you know, on average, 100%. You know, so yeah, it was great. You know, great opportunity. And it's just pure luck, really, that Jim Carrey, I think he was instrumental in getting us into that. And you can't count on those kind of things happening, but you're happy when they do.
I think what's great too is that, you know, you mentioned Morbid Angel and of course Cannibal Corpse, and very much like those bands that became popular through their branding. A lot of people will give those bands, you know, they might not get radio support, they might not get you know, the commercial machine behind it, but what they do get is they get credibility, and they get somebody willing to push themselves to listen to it, to find out what it is that makes it so cool and why people like it so much. And, you know, a classic example of that is a band like Black Flag, very similar to you guys, you know, atonal music, hard to get into, you know, some, you know, depending on what period you're listening to, some Black Flag is really tough to get into, but it's a payoff. You know, but because when you get it, it grabs you. Same thing with Joy Division. Joy Division was another band that, you know, became so popular because of the album, of, you know, Unknown Pleasures album cover and music, again, that might not be, you know, Love Will Tear Us Apart's a hit, but there's other stuff where and I remember being a kid, perfect example, loving New Order, but then going back and finding Joy Division, going, this is a much tougher listen, but there's a payoff that happens. So I think what's great about your band is that when people do invest, there's kids that want to be fans. So what the advantage you have is there's going to be kids that are going, I need to get into Cannibal Corpse, so I'm going to push my way through and find what it is that's cool about this band, and that's what you end up seeing, which is great.
Yeah, well, thanks. I think that's great too, and I think what you're saying, it does kind of make sense. Like when you've been seeing this logo on people's shirts and things for years and years, and you still haven't checked it out. You know what I mean? Eventually, you might be like, okay. Let's see what this is all about.
Got to do it.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, it's actually a lot easier now because you can check it out basically for free on YouTube, or everybody has streaming services, or almost everyone will use one of the streaming services now. So you find out a band, you can take a really pretty deep dive without having to commit the way you would have had to maybe 20 years ago to actually buying the albums and or finding a friend who could loan them to you or whatever. Now, if you have one of these services and you want to learn about some band, you can get to your homework right away. You know?
I mean, with an email address and a credit card or a home address, you can become a Cannibal Corpse fan, you know, in 2 days by listening, getting a T-shirt sent to you. You're in. So it's kind of an interesting way to look at it in terms of accessibility for bands. You know, this music is hard music. You know, someone who's played music before, this is hard music to play. This isn't a walk in the park. You know, you're not going up and just playing folk music where it's just, you know, it's airy and it's light. This is hard at this point where you're at. And we're very similar in age because I saw when you were born. Is there a part of you that finds it harder to play, or is it more, you know, you've got to do certain things in terms of self-care to keep yourself at that level of musicianship?
Well,
it's very much a performance.
Yes. Yeah. No, death metal and the other kinds of extreme metal are really physical kinds of music. I mean, first of all, just in the execution of it. And then also if you're doing a stage performance where you want to really be headbanging and moving around, that's all stuff it's physical, you know, and I mean, everything, playing folk music is physical, but for sure what we're doing is probably going to get the sweat going a little more. You know,
yeah, it's more from like, you know, it's from power walking to 100-yard sprint.
Yeah, we're like, it's the whole show. It's hard to think of the best analogy. The whole show is kind of a marathon, I guess, because we're playing like 75 to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But each song is a sprint. So it's almost like HIIT training.
Yeah. Exactly.
Something.
It's like HIIT training.
Yeah.
That's great. Exactly. Short bursts, but very effective.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the show is like. And for sure, you know, I've been doing this. All of us have been doing it for 3 decades plus at this point.
Crazy. Yeah.
And just like an athlete in his 20s in a, you know, like football or whatever is different from an athlete in his 50s.
Of course.
The same is true here. So we do have to kind of look out for our bodies and everything. Like the stuff you do in your 20s, drinking and whatever, not getting enough sleep, eating garbage food. You just can't do that.
Yeah,
At least I can't in my 50s. I really keep track of my health, and it's kind of a hobby too, you know, and I could go on and on about that, but I love to run. And that's one of the things that keeps me kind of focused and just having fun on tour, you know, finding new places to run when I get to a different city or whatever. And, but yeah, it's important. I mean, it's physical music. We'll see how long we can keep doing it. Right now, we feel great and we don't see any end in sight, but to be realistic, I mean, this is not going to get easier. So we'll see where it goes. But I feel that there are many years ahead of us. As long as we keep track of the things that, you know, keep track of our physical health, really, you know, that's very important.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the more I speak to, you know, artists that have been doing it for a long time, they will say the same thing. I mean, we've got to keep ourselves in good shape. We can't, you know, we can't afford to do the things we used to do. And I mean, a lot of guys are getting sober. A lot of guys are taking better care of themselves. I got sober 31 years ago. I stopped, and I'm glad, because I mean, I see a lot of my friends that are my age, and it's like, wow, you know, it's a tough road when you fight it. I mean, and you feel better, you know, you just feel better. You feel lighter. You feel more energized. It's a good feeling when you're able to keep yourself in good shape. So
yeah, it's a good hobby to have. I tell people, really, you know, I'm like, man, you know, if you can, there's so many cool things to be interested in if you have some spare time.
Yeah.
Why not make health one of them? I know what I mean.
That's great advice.
Make healthier hobby, you know, like, oh, I'm going to cook this healthy meal tonight, or I'm going to find a place to run, or I'm going to do something new, like stand up paddleboarding or whatever, you know, there's all kinds of cool things that all kind of tie in to being healthy, and they're interesting to do. And yeah, you can have a whole hobby around being healthy, and anybody who's aging, it's going to benefit anybody. Well, we're all aging, but you know what I mean? Like anyone who's getting to that middle age, and even, man, I think the senior citizen discount's starting a couple more years for me. So looking forward to less expensive movies or whatever, but yeah.
Well, there are little perks, right?
Yeah. But everybody should keep track of these things, and musicians and everybody else. But for sure, you know, getting back around to the question, death metal musicians have a lot to keep track of physically, for sure. You know, you're banging your head, you're playing fast, and the drummers, forget it. That is just such hard work. Yeah. I'm sure it's something that they think about every time they get on the kit, you know, when you're regardless of age, but as you get older, it's not going to get easier. So you have to take care of yourself. Yeah.
It's, you know, a lot of the times in older bands that have been doing it for a while, it's the drummers or it's the singers. It's usually one of those two that's, you know, the guitar players and the bass players can usually hang on a little longer, but yeah, it's a tough one. But I mean, it's just life. It's the cycle, right?
Yep, it is. And I actually did have some hand problems, by the way. I was going to mention that for a little while, and I got through them with the help of a therapist and everything, you know, but it's to be expected in a way. I think, you know, we are pushing ourselves. So if there's one more thing, and then we can move on, I'd say ergonomics. Like everybody who plays this music, try and figure out the best way to actually play, you know, talk to a skilled teacher. Because even having one little thing wrong with your positioning as a drummer, bass player, guitarist, whatever, it might not be a problem in the beginning, but after decades of playing with something just slightly wrong ergonomically, then problems can happen. It just takes time. And so many of us are self-taught. A lot of us aren't playing in the best way, really, like positionally. So it's a good thing to just kind of maybe just, if you're starting to feel some pain, reevaluate how you're holding your instrument.
Yeah, good advice, and shoes too. I see more and more metal musicians, and especially extreme metal musicians, looking for the black on black sneaker with the biggest sole. That's not too flashy. So trying to find a way to kind of keep it cool, but at the same time, put yourself in something that's got a sole like that. I mean, I'm not saying they got to slip into Skechers, but the combat boots or the Converse with no or support, like the Converse All Stars, that just
I used to wear those on stage forever, and I'm still wearing, honestly, the shoes I wear on stage. I wouldn't want to walk much further than from the dressing room to the stage and back. And when I'm walking around, it's great that you said this, because I go out of my way to find black running shoes, because I like wearing black shoes with black pants and black shirt. That's what I wear, especially on tour. That's what I wear all the time on tour. So I want to match. So I found, I'll use Brooks or Hoka's. They both have great padding, and I'll run in them for 350 miles, and then I retire them. They become my shoes that I wear day to day. But I have to look around for the all black ones. I really want those, so that I can upcycle them after they're done being running shoes into being my walking shoes.
It's so true. These guys, same kind of conversations I've had where people say, the Van slip-ons, they look great, but I after wearing something that is really padded for years, when I put on a pair of slip-ons, as cool as they are, I don't want to wear them past, a walk to there and back. New record's coming out. It's a new tour cycle, I imagine, for you guys too. What do you have coming in front of you? Like, when you put out a record, you guys are a worldwide band. I mean, you can tour anywhere. It must be the kind of thing where it's like, all right, daunting touring schedule. Like, what kind of or is it like a 10-month kind of thing that you have in front of you, or 14, or is?
You know what? It's becoming less. And that goes back to the earlier question about, getting a little older and trying to pace ourselves, on stage and so forth. Well, we're also trying to pace ourselves with our touring schedule.
Right.
First of all, I mean, everybody wants to spend more time with their families. I think, that increases as you get older. You end up having a home life that you really enjoy and don't want to be away as much. But also, well, we just did a 7-week tour of Europe, and we decided that was probably a little long. It was a great tour. We had a great time on tour with great bands that we got along with really well. Awesome fan response. Everything about it was great, but it did end up feeling a couple weeks too long in the end. Maybe just, even though we enjoyed all of the shows right up, from start to finish, it still was something where we're like, okay, let's see if we can keep it to maybe more like 4 weeks tops in the future. That just seems to be something that we prefer. So we do have coming up for this album, we have this tour with Mayhem, Gore Guts, and Blood Incantation that we're starting soon.
Yeah.
Very soon, actually. I'll be heading to Florida in a few days to start practicing with the guys. And then I think the first show's in about a week and a half from when this is being recorded. And that tour is, like I said, about 4 weeks. And then that's it for this year. And then we'll be doing some more touring early next year. And then maybe another tour of Europe sometime in the second half of 2024. But our touring schedule is lighter than it's been in previous years.
Wow.
And it's a direct, I mean, there's a few reasons, but really a lot of it has to do with us just wanting it that way at this point in our lives.
Which is, I mean, I guess it's a great position to be in, because you don't have to go and slug it out and be out there, like you said, 7 weeks, be out there a couple of weeks longer than you want to be. So it's got to be in a nice position to be in.
Yeah, if we can do it, we will, and of course, if we're opening for another band or something and they want the tour to be 8 weeks, well, we're doing the 8 weeks, you know what I mean? But when it's our own headlining tour, we have the opportunity to choose how long it's going to be. And so I would expect that all of our tours will be in that 4-week range going forward, or less. And we're still going to be doing a lot of shows though, but I would say it'll probably be maybe just a little more than half as much as we did, say, 10 years ago for an album, but it'll still be plenty. I'm sure next year we'll probably close in on 60 or 70 shows. And this year, I think probably about the same.
Right. So still a good amount.
Yeah.
New album comes out September 22nd. Chaos Horrific. Long time relationship with Metal Blade Records. I'm just glad that this band is still doing it, and it sounds like you're all in a really good place. At least you are. I mean, I love the fact that you take care of yourself. I think it's so important. Healthcare. So, and I love the fact you say it's like look at that as a hobby, because it's true. I mean, it really, if you look at it like that, it doesn't seem like it's work. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat. Continued success. Keep kicking ass. Keep converting those
Thank you.
kids. And it's nice to see that you've got such a great attitude about this still, because it's very important band to extreme metal, without a doubt. I mean, you guys are one of the pillars. So
Well, thank you. And yeah, it's easy to stay motivated about playing your favorite kind of music for a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just,
for sure,
still,
for sure.
it's still so much fun. So,
Yeah.
we might be touring just a little bit less, but we will, we still love it. And, we can't wait to get out there and see everybody. So hope to see you all soon. We'll be up in Canada in just a couple weeks. So
Looking
hope to
forward
see
to it.
everybody soon.
Cool. Thank you so much for taking the time, man.
Thank you so much.
I like how we authentically brought it up that it was, it was in the movie, but so many bands, to me, like when I'm a kid and I'm not adversed in music, and, back pre-internet, you had to see a music video, which I didn't watch at the time, or someone's cooler older brother had to be like, yo, like, listen to this or I'll beat you up. I heard of White Zombie for the first time because of that movie Airheads.
Right.
And very similar to Wayne's World, having not been in a band or gone to concerts, that was my window to the world.
Sure. Yeah.
And I always remember seeing that. I had heard, of course, listened to The Offspring before seeing Idle Hands, but it certainly didn't hurt to see Dexter Holland's skull get ripped open by a demonic hand. Just anyways, so seeing bands, and I remember seeing Cannibal Corpse, and it was just like I said before, an assault on the senses, and just a great contrast to the goofiness of the rest of the movie. You could just tell that Ace Ventura just would go there. If he was talking with his ass or listening to Cannibal Corpse, Ace Ventura was a wild guy.
Yeah. And it's funny how when we talk about how Cannibal Corpse is kind of like one of those bands that is iconic for the logo, for the branding, all that stuff, where, chats that we don't usually get to talk to musicians about is like, branding is so important when you're in a band. And no one wants to talk about that because, like, oh, I'm a musician. It's like, no, but if you want to be a successful musician and have longevity with your career, you have to know how to brand your band. And Cannibal Corpse, they're just one of those iconic names, iconic logos. The branding of that band is synonymous with a rite of passage. And we talk about that, which is so much fun. Like bands like Black Flag, bands like the Ramones, bands like Led Zeppelin, bands like Pink Floyd. There are these iconic brands that are part of a ritual that you pass through from teenagehood to adulthood if you're into music, and depending what style of music you're into. So to have someone like that on the show was very, very cool. And Alex was just so open to talk about everything, which I loved. And I really, really enjoyed our talks about, his hobby is fitness, like taking care of himself is a hobby. And I don't know, just really, really cool conversation. It just shows you how you can never judge a book by its cover. And if you think, oh yeah,
or a metal band by their voice,
well, there you go. You automatically figure, oh yeah, like they're just going to be a bunch of beer swilling, drug taking, brain dead guys. And a lot of people still have that misconception with metal, but man, you talk to some metal musicians, and not only, dude, they're like classically trained musicians that that are playing stuff that is so technically hard and so difficult to play. They're virtuosos, and they're something else. So I've always had a lot of respect for metal musicians, and it's great that we can shine the light on some of them on this show. So thank you, Alex, for being on the show. Really appreciate you. New album is called Chaos Horrific, and it is available as of now everywhere where you buy your music, and definitely stream it. And they've got so many records we mentioned in the episode, the 14, 15 albums in 16. So plus live albums, plus live videos.
That's a lot of teens.
So if you want to dig your teeth into Cannibal Corpse, well, now is the time to do it, because there's a plethora of music for you to enjoy and get into. And definitely check out the new album, Chaos Horrific, available now. Ryan, thank you so much, man. This has been a lot of fun. And we've got a lot of great stuff coming up this fall. Of course, fall is here, so we are going to be talking all kinds of Halloween stuff. The Exorcist is coming up. I would love to do an episode where we talk about horror movies and about The Exorcist in particular, because it's such an iconic film. And shout out to Studio House Designs. Great Exorcist drop. Well done. You can check them out at studiohousedesigns.com. A big shout out to our friends at Heartbeat Hot Sauce. Ryan, use your promo code Rockman20 and get some more bottles in that goddamn fridge. It's empty.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's part gluttony and part no self-control, but no regrets.
Use the promo code to get 20 off, okay?
Yeah.
And thank you to all of you for joining us on this journey. My thanks to my co-host, Ryan Stick. Thank you to our producer, Julia Kajerski. And until next time, please subscribe. Hit the alert button so you know when we drop new content. And if you're listening, watching, wherever you are, we appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for supporting the Rockman Power Hour. We're almost 2 years strong, and we absolutely couldn't do this without your support. So make sure you click on one of these links to find our entire playlist of episodes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, right over there, hit it, and you won't miss anything.